guys, Zarellia here. For those of you that do not know me, you could just call me Z. I'm owner of the Madhouse over on Twitch. And today we are doing the continuation of the 8-part D&D horror story from hell. I hope you guys enjoyed the last part, and if you haven't, make sure you go and watch it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the story. Without further ado, let's get into the story. I'll see you at the end. Bye-bye. Part 4. Here's the cast. Poster, the wizard and healer homebrew. Joe the rogue, a longtime friend of mine. Connor, the Asumir paladin, another friend of mine, also friend with Joe. Dave the warlock, Joe's friend and ex-co-worker. Minerva the monk, Dave's wife. Jake the DM, self-proclaimed veteran player and DM. Susie the ranger, Jake's wife. So, every time we meet up at Dave and Minerva's house, we usually spend 1 hour to eat and to do chit-chat before playing D&D. That's where we learned that Jake got recently removed from a group in which he was a player. According to him, the issue started when he brought Susie with him. Susie was not a player, so she just watched them play. That's exactly what happened with us before she joined us. This has continued for maybe 3 or 4 sessions until the other players had enough and tried to ask Jake to stop bringing her because she's not a player and it breaks immersion. The way he described his interactions with them, I know for a fact they tried to talk to him in the most respectful way possible. I remembered the first time he brought Susie into our game as a spectator, he did not ask permission from neither our whole group nor our hosts Dave and Minerva. I assumed he did the same with the other group, so I asked him to clarify. I don't remember what he answered, however I do remember that feeling he did not answer to my question and deflected. According to Jake, one of the players was jealous of the happiness with Susie, was bothered because he got recently divorced. They were both friends, but this guy betrayed Jake according to him. He took his words at face value at that time, however, now that I think about it, I can't help but think this is insane. Jake had so many red flags and we were blind. Anyway, Jake has eventually stopped responding to them and he didn't come to their other games. He told us they didn't wait long to replace him. He got booted out of another campaign. So session 9 begins. We kill and rout the orcs without struggle. Susie reveals to us some information. She is a Drake Warden Ranger and she is aware about the BBEG. She tells us that the BBEG has extended his influence in all the main nations of the continent. We don't have much time and we need to leave Sea City so we can go to Watermark, a nearly huge port city which is falling prey to the BBEG's minions. But before that, we decide to free Sea City from the orcs, so we pursue them on a boat. We land near to their base and manage to infiltrate it. At some point, the orcs become our allies thanks to deceit. Connor can speak orc, so he disguised himself as one and slew their chief to take his place. Then Connor goes alone ahead of us and meets a prisoner. His name is Jackie. He is a halfling and it turns out he is a pirate and the owner of the huge ship blockading Sea City. For some reasons, he got captured by the orcs while attacking Sea City. Connor doesn't trust him, so Jackie makes the proposition to make a blood pact with him. The bargain is he provides us his ship, but we need to give him back his amulet. He can't survive long without it, and do some ritual to retrieve an artifact near the orcs' base. Connor seems lost and doesn't know what to do. Jake keeps pushing and tries his hardest to convince him. At the time, none of us really knew how the paladin works, so we didn't know or remember about his oath. Connor is playing his second session ever, and Jake did not give him any chance to remember either. He ends up saying yes. Session ends and Jake tells Connor there will be bad consequences for his character because he didn't respect his oath. I got pissed at Jake and reproached him. He did nothing to prevent that. Connor said it was fine, but I still apologized to him. Session 10. Joe did not play this day. The other characters meet with Jackie. His amulet is in our possession, but we want to talk to him a bit before giving it back. We realize he was already mentioned before. Remember about the pirate with the mind-controlled crew who almost kidnapped us in session 4? He sang a song mentioning a powerful and dangerous pirate, a halfling who travels the sea with hundreds of souls on his legendary ship. It's definitely him. Both me and Dave decide to openly not trust Jackie. We start asking a lot of questions to make sure he will not betray us or do anything shady. He never responds directly to our questions, stays vague, and as much as he can. We end up refusing to ally with him. Jake, remember that your character is intelligent. You know the paladin made a blood pact with him. Poster, my character has a neutral good alignment and doesn't want to ally with someone who starved a city to death with his blockade. Jake, in this game alignment doesn't matter that much. He just knows that's the best solution. Poster, but how is it a good solution? We have been betrayed and played many times, and other evil pirate mentioned him before. I'd rather find an other solution rather than take this guy's ship. Jake, there are no other solutions. Poster, what do you mean? Jake, Sea City is surrounded by zombies and blockaded by the ship. The only solution is to ally with Jackie. Poster, but we can't just attack and destroy the ship with the orcs and villagers? Or even better, take it? Jake, nope. The ship is magical and can defend on its own. You'll get killed. Poster, why can't we rally both the villagers and the orcs and cut our way through the zombies until we arrive at Watermark? Sea City is starved anyway. Jake, nope. There are too many zombies. Poster, what about building our own ship? Jake, nope. You guys can't. Poster, how about traveling through the coast? Jake, nope. Poster, is there anything else we can do beside allying with Jackie? Jake, nope. The only possible way for us to ally with a pirate that our characters are supposed to trust, we end up giving him back his amulet. This got argumentative. Susie sided with Jake, saying she trusts Jackie because Connor made a blood pact with him and that's the most logical way to react. I responded to her, this argument doesn't stand since the player of this paladin is a beginner and doesn't know his character yet. An average player would have never made that choice and she knows it. Minerva for some reason sided with Jake and Susie because she trusts Jackie thanks to the knowledge she has about him. Has she shared it with us? Of course not, because that's what her character would have done. Jake gets pissed and tells me that he almost used Dominant's spell on my character because I and David asked too many questions and acted too hostile toward his character. Fuck. We stop the argument and the game resumes. We follow Jackie and get to the strange place we are supposed to make a ritual so he can get the artifact, but something else happened. It turns out this ritual also awakened and released a lich and a zombie dragon from their ice prison. We flee with Jackie and we watch both of these monsters fly to Sea City and destroy it, killing everyone. Once they are done, they fly once again to the north and disappear. We manage to get to the ship with Jackie. I asked Jackie if he knew the outcome of this ritual. Jake smiles to me and says yes. The session ends. We discuss a little bit about the end of the session and Jake reveals to us that Jackie's actually a self-insert. What? You guys as fellow DMs, would you ever do a self-insert character? Just for the hell of it? Would you? Right? Like, what is this? He's a big no-no? Right? Like, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to do that. Fairly certain you're not supposed to do that. Like, the game is for your players and the DM is the DM. In a way, you can kind of do characters, you know, in your own style, but still not as a self-insert. Alright, so Jake, isn't your character's family located to the north? Poster, yeah, what about them? Jake, I am thinking about killing them off since they might cross paths with the Lich and the zombie dragon. And here we go. I get punished once again for a choice that I didn't want to make. At this point, my trust towards Jake is shattering. This is the first time I seriously consider quitting the game. I have a discussion with all the other players except Susie. Unfortunately, they don't share my frustration and disappointment. Dave is quite frustrated too, but he doesn't mind. Joe doesn't care much about the game but enjoys the social aspect. Connor understands my point of view but is willing to continue. Minerva sides with Jake because her character has information that we don't. I even tried to have a discussion with Jake. I complained about the railroading. I also complained about him planning to kill the family of my character. He told me to wait for the progression of the story that it will not be as railroaded in the future. Like an idiot, I thought I overreacted and chose to stay. And that's how part 4 ends. On to part 5. So we got the cast. We are well aware of the cast. Session 10 ended. They left Sea City on Jackie's ship. Continuing on, Minerva and Susie reveal to us, out of character, that their PCs had a discussion. Minerva's character suffers from amnesia, and sometimes Jake allows her to remember something about the plot. 3 months ago, she's been told about a prophecy in the form of a puzzle. She made the choice to not say anything to the party and tried to solve all the things by herself and struggled a lot. However, for some unknown reason, she told everything to Susie's character, who recently joined the party, and they solved the puzzle together. Have they explained to us what they discovered? No! Because according to them, they want us to put our mind into it out of the game in the same way they did. When I asked Jake if me, Connor, and Joe, and Dave have the knowledge required to solve it, he answered no. Have they explained to us what they discovered? Okay, we read that paragraph. I got really frustrated and argued that Minerva should have solved the puzzle with the entire group in the first place. I told them to just explain the prophecy already, but they didn't want to. What the fuck? Why? Normally, as a player in a party, you're a party. You're in this together, right? Would you or would you not have discussed this with the rest of your party? They do. Like, what the fuck? There is no trust in this party. Like, what the fuck is this DM doing? Moving on. Our discussion ended here, and Minerva still wanted us to resolve the puzzle before the next session. This is stupid. This is so stupid, it frustrated me like hell. I feel you there, dude. I made my first Reddit post to talk about the situation because at that point I didn't know if I was crazy or not. Most Redditors told me to leave ASAP, and some others told me to stay and see what happens. I did the latter. It turns out this prophecy is all about Dave's character transporting in his blade a very powerful soul. With this blade, he shall travel to many places and slay the BBAG and his minions. I realized Jake has lied to me when he promised the game would not be railroaded in the future. There can't be anything more railroading than a damn prophecy. Poster, are we obligated to follow this prophecy? Must we do everything the prophecy tells us to do? Jake, yeah, you guys can make the choice to not follow it, but if you make such choice, you will be in huge trouble. I also take the opportunity to tell Minerva that we are a team and we are supposed to talk to each other in-game. Minerva responds she was lost with the information Jake has provided to her, and since she is extremely shy, she didn't know how to talk to us. Hold up. Is Minerva not... Yeah, she's Dave's wife. Why couldn't you even talk to your fucking husband and have your husband explain to the party if you're so shy? What the fuck? I would stop DMing for a group this hostile to each other. Honestly, it seems like the DM is not the only problem with this game. 100% no, he is not. This group just has... there's nothing attaching this group together. They have no skills together. But the thing is that Minerva is married to one of the other players IRL. Why couldn't she talk to him? But no, she chose Susie, the DM's wife, who is literally the newest player. She knows nothing about this person and she chose to talk to her over her own fucking husband. Nani? What the fuck? Please, where was your brain when you thought about this, lady? Right? Like, what the fuck? Anyways, session 11. Minerva almost died. She tried to tell Dave who was his patron. The blade was reacted. Dave lost control of his character and attacked her until we joined them. So Minerva almost dies due to the blade that Dave has. This same blade also injured their poster, I remember, in one of the earlier parts. That was so stupid. I don't know if you guys remember, but when this blade was first a thing and the poster initially tried looking at it, he rolled a nat 20 for his check on it. And the blade still attacked him for 14 damage. And nobody remembers, you know, Jake says no one remembers how the poster got injured. No one knows that it was this blade because it activated this like spell or whatever that caused them memory loss. So he is hit for 14 HP and no one knows why. Even after rolling a nat 20 on that. Spaghetti and coffee. Nice. Yes, the memory loss. Because of this same sword that apparently almost just killed Minerva now. Yup. So Dave's patron is none other than the soul of the Holy Emperor, leader of the most powerful country of the continent. It seems that his soul is in hiding and doesn't want to be discovered. That's why he attacked me and Minerva. No save memory losses. Yep. That's exactly what happened with the sword previously. And now we find out the patron, what's in the sword, and why he did what he did. After nearly killing 2 of the players already. What the fuck? Anyways, it's also revealed later that the Holy Emperor, the magical armor Jackie, Minerva, and the demon we killed at Sea City are all heroes from the past. They defeated the BBG once 800 years ago. All of them had to sacrifice something in order to prevail. There are other heroes, but we need to reunite all of them first. So Jackie, Minerva, and the demon they killed are all 800 plus years old? Nothing like a nat 20 feel like shit. Right? Hi, Kuroshi. How are you doing today? But when we try to ask questions, Minerva doesn't so memory loss again. The Holy Emperor doesn't respond because he is too weak to talk to us, and the magical armor doesn't know, and Jackie can't talk because he has a curse that prevents him to do so, and the demon who is now in Dave's body refuses to talk unless Dave allows him to take control of his body. What the fuck? So Minerva has amnesia. She doesn't remember anything from this 800-year-old thing. Jackie has a curse, can't talk, and the demon is possessing Dave's body? Whoa, what? Oh my god, okay. Of course Dave refuses because he made it perfectly clear that his character refuses to be controlled by anything. The only way forward is now a watermark. Session ends. Whoop whoop. Yup. Very wild, I'd say. We are March 2024. Susie is pregnant, 5 months pregnant, and the first issues start. Jake will not stop reminding us about Susie's pregnancy and makes us feel bad about it. We don't have time. We have an adult life. Do you guys remember that my wife is pregnant? Etc., etc. Yeah, we know that. However, the issue is they're the ones who engage with us. We did everything we could to leave them alone. At some point, we even tried to tell them many times to pause the campaign so they could focus on themselves, but they always refused, telling us that everything was fine. This kind of abuse would repeat over and over again. Jake also told us that the next session will probably be the last time Susie can come to play. He decides to make another one-shot session in between the campaign. It's also a very deadly encounter, and we play this time on Foundry and Discord. What the fuck? They offered to pause the game repeatedly, but yet Jake, saying, we don't have time, still wants to continue? Make up your fucking mind. You either don't have time, or you want to keep playing the fucking game. It's one or the other. You don't get to abuse your players because you yourself can't make up your fucking mind. Anyways, one shot. We connect, nothing out of the ordinary happens until Susie and Jake join the Discord with a third party. That's right, they decided that their 8-year-old daughter would play with us as Susie's pet. None of us knew, they didn't ask us. That's right, I remember this. He's such a mature adult, ain't he? Oh, yeah, okay. At first, me, Dave, Minerva, Joe, and Connor were all silent and confused. Jake, you guys are not cool. You should say hi to our daughter. This session was beyond miserable. We had to give special attention to her until she rapidly lost focus and wanted to do some other things, you know, like any child of her age. I have nothing against children, however, I've never signed up to play with a child in a D&D game. At some point, our characters had to free a fort from orcs, so we spent time trying to figure out how to infiltrate it. Our daughter drew a plan. Both Jake and Susie pushed hard so that we followed their daughter's plan, and fortunately for them, we chose to do something else. The game ended in a TPK because our plan sucked, according to Jake. We spent 1 hour arguing with Jake and Susie about what we should have done or not. They made it sound like their daughter is able to make a better plan than all of us combined. Me and the other players collectively pointed out Jake's arbitrary nature and unfairness. He would eventually end our call. For the first time, it was clear that no one was happy. A few weeks later, Dave asks the group about our meal for the next session. I still have the conversation on my phone so I can translate it. So, this is a text group chain. Dave, hello everyone. For the next weekend at our house, would you mind if I make salmon pasta with beetroot sauce and parmesan? Otherwise, I have other recipes aside. Jake, for me, yes, but we have to see if Susie can. Susie, hello. Cooked or smoked salmon? Dave, smoked. Susie, I won't have it if it's not cooked. Pasta, I can. Smoked salmon is still cooked salmon. It's the same thing. It's just the cooking method is different. It's not fucking raw. Anyways, Dave, counter proposal. Pasta gratin with mushrooms, green beans, onions, Gruyere, sliced chicken cutlet with sour cream sauce, and veal stock. Or Minerva can cook meat turnovers for you. Susie, don't change everything because of that. If the smoked salmon isn't cooked, I just don't eat it. Again, smoked salmon is still cooked. It's just a different cooking method, you dumb bitch. Jake, Dave, you have to understand that Susie cannot eat uncooked meat or fish. Y'all are fucking stupid. Dave, in the meat turnovers, everything is cooked. Susie, I'm such a bore when it comes to food. I can always grab something to heat by myself. Minerva, oh, are you sure you want to do that? Susie, well, yeah, between the foods that no longer fit, those that I can't eat, it's difficult. Dave, if you want to bring something to heat, you can. We have a microwave. Jake, this is probably the last time for a long time that Susie will be able to come. I think we can make an effort for her, right? Susie, nah, but it's me who says I can bring something. Minerva, we repeat, it's up to your preferences. We will make food for everyone anyway. We even have an oven to heat your own food if you want. Susie, but the dish without salmon is fine for me. Dave, okay. So are we going with that? Is it okay for everyone? The two couples would have a call a few hours later after this conversation, but I wasn't there. I didn't pay attention at the time. I was working when the whole thing happened. I know that both Dave and Jake were pissed at each other. The next day, Jake and Susie called me and tried to convince me that it was Dave's fault for not listening. However, when I read the whole conversation, my jaw dropped. This is nothing but toxicity and failure at communication. I felt very bad for both Dave and Minerva, who are both very kind people and tried their best to accommodate with Susie. Jake eventually realized his mistake and asked that we have a discussion in our next session. Moving on. Part 6. So we got the cast for, just to repeat everything. So, Poster is a wizard healer homebrew, Joe the rogue, friend of Poster, Connor, another friend of theirs, who is a paladin. We got Dave the warlock, Joe's friend and ex-coworker, Minerva the monk, Dave's wife, Jake, DM, self-proclaimed veteran player in DM, Susie, Jake's wife, and is also the ranger. April 2024, 4 days before session 12, Jake calls the Poster on his phone. We talk a bit about what happened on the group chat. Jake tells the Poster that he plans to apologize to Dave and Minerva. He also said that there is a valid reason that explains why he acted like that, and he will tell us as well. Then our discussion shifts on the last one-shot session we played on Discord, the one which ended in a TPK when we attacked a group of orcs on a fort. We all told him, except Susie, that he was too harsh and arbitrary as a DM. Jake, I've questioned myself a lot, to the point I have even considered that I did something wrong, but I am pretty sure the problem isn't me. Let me explain why. fuck? He then proceeds to tell me that he talked to some of his friends. He described them the scenario of the fort we had to invade, and then he let those people elaborate a plan. According to him, all of these plans were better than ours. He even asked the other group, and they had the exact same plan as their daughters. Jake, you know, Poster, when I described to the other group what you and the other players have done, they all made fun of you. Fuck him, fuck this guy. For the first time I finally realized that this guy is a massive piece of shit. I remain calm nonetheless. Poster, what do you mean they made fun of us? Jake, well, your plan sucked, and when you fought, you've made a lot of mistakes. For instance, Poster, you put yourself in danger when it comes to positioning. You put yourself at risk too many times. Poster, I had Sanctuary on me though. Jake, true, but it didn't prevent the barbarian orcs from attacking you. Poster, well, I didn't expect those barbarian orcs to succeed their wisdom saving throw every time. Mind you, I'm level 4 with 20 intelligence. That means the wisdom saving throw difficulty to ignore my sanctuary is 15. I can also protect myself with the spell Shield to raise my AC by 5 points. Unfortunately, every orc who attacked me managed to hit me despite those things. Those orcs were all homebrewed, built like barbarian PCs, and all of them were individually stronger than any of us. There were at least 15 of them. Poster, what do you think is the main difference between our group and the other one? Jake, they listen to each other and each of them know what to do and how to play their character. I wonder, it's probably because they're not beginner D&D players. I don't remember if I said it earlier, but this group is composed by Jake's longtime friends. They originally met on Final Fantasy XIV and played a lot together on it. Yeah, totally. So fair, right? No wonder they do it better than us, since they already have years of experience playing as a team, plus 2 of them were already experienced players when it comes to D&D. I tried to remind Jake that this group was already accustomed to play together, even though they are better than us. Our experience shouldn't be the same. As a DM, he has to acknowledge that we are not the same. Unfortunately for me, he doesn't listen. Poster, maybe this group, if they agree, could record one of their fights and send it to us so we can watch and learn. Jake, no, we can't because I don't want to spoil the story to you guys. Poster, but they are 2 years ahead of us, right? How can you be so sure it will be spoiling? Jake, their next encounter is very important to the plot, so you guys will probably have this encounter as well eventually. That's when I realized he lied to my face when he promised this game would not be railroaded anymore. If he can tell the same thing will happen to us despite having 2-year gap in our campaign with the other group, that can only mean the campaign will keep being railroaded. This is not D&D nor an adventure, but a movie in which we are actors without a script. And Jake is not a DM, but some kind of toxic manager who has weird expectations. Jake. Hi, Dreamin'. Anyway, I will take the opportunity to tell each of you guys what you did wrong in the next session. Poster, have you told everyone beforehand? Jake, no. Poster, I think you should post a message on the group chat so everyone will know what your intentions are. Okay, Jake, okay, fair enough. The phone call ends a few minutes later. The next day, Jake posts a message in the group chat. I still have them on my phone, so allow me to translate them for you. Jake, hello. I took the time to analyze the last sessions, especially the last one. I took notes, wrote, asked questions, questioned myself a lot. On Sunday, I will give you my feedback on this. Be careful, I'm warning you now. It's not going to be pleasant to hear. Dave, no! Are you questioning yourself, Jake? Are you sure? Isn't that more of a Tasha's hideous laughter that you're trying to cast on us? Susie, let's say this is the moment where I'm going to disappear to the bathroom for about 15 minutes. Dave, what do you mean? Susie, well, I know he's not going to be nice, and I don't want to hear it again. Dave, he has the right to contradict me, but on one condition. Can he tell me on which point he questioned himself exactly? At least I know I'm stubborn. Does he? Susie, well, I saw the file he wrote. He has examined, noted, and explained everything. Anyway, if there is no questioning of the group, it's to watermark during the second fight at the latest. To add some context, it's been at least 5 months. Both Jake and Susie keep telling us that we are not ready for the second fight that will happen in Watermark. Susie also kept telling us that if her character dies, she will not make another one. Eventually, we all agreed to have a serious discussion about the campaign the next time we meet. That's also where Joe told us he will not be able to come this day to play. One day before session 12, Dave and Minerva call me. Both of them feel bad and want to know my opinion. Dave is still pissed at Jake and wants to confront him. Minerva, on the other hand, is afraid that everyone gets angry. She thinks we should cancel this session and have a discussion online instead with everyone. I told them that this is a good opportunity to sit down and have a clear discussion about our expectations for the campaign. As long as everyone remains calm, everything should be fine. I then told Dave that if either him or Jake becomes angry and starts shooting, I will leave instantly. Of course, I will tell Jake the same tomorrow. Dave then told me he has an idea. He would like to try DMing but he doesn't know how to do this. Dave, look, even if Jake and Susie leave, 5 of us would still remain. Maybe we should do this if our discussion with Jake turns sour. We agree on this and end this call with the idea that the campaign might end the next day. Anyways, moving on, part 7. Session 12. We arrived at Dave and Minerva's house. I remember this day perfectly because I was stressed out. Joe didn't come to play and Connor was a bit confused about the whole situation. I could tell Dave and Minerva were tense. Usually we all sit at the game table and start eating and chit-chatting, but not this time. Both of them were standing in front of the table, arms crossed, looking at Jake and Susie. On the other hand, Jake and Susie behaved as if everything was cool. They were joking together as if nothing happened. Alright, so they're all together. Everyone's tense except for the 2 troublemakers themselves. Of course, right? So, Susie, what's wrong, Dave and Minerva? Have a seat. Both Dave and Minerva were silent. They looked at each other, then Dave responds. Dave, I think we should talk about you-know-what. Jake agreed and apologized to both Dave and Minerva. He acknowledged that his behavior was toxic. He then proceeded to explain why he behaved the way he did. He has autism. That's not a fucking excuse! Oh my god. He really played that card? Literally anything else but autism? That's not a fucking excuse for his behavior. I'm so happy you guys can't see my tracking right now because, oh my god, my hands are flying everywhere. Let's see what this fucker has to say. So Jake, if I seem like a jerk sometimes, it's because I have autism. I am constantly learning how to behave with others. Then he proceeded to remind us about what happened with the group he was kicked from as a player. He felt betrayed and was upset that some people he thought were friends tried to get rid of Susie. He also struggles at work with his superior, who seems to lack empathy when he needs to check in with her or leave work early. That's why he always gets upset when it comes to Susie. We understood. Dave and Minerva accepted his apology, but the discussion wasn't over. He wanted to talk about the campaign as well. We asked Jake to clarify his expectations. We also told him that if our expectations were mismatched, maybe it was time to end the campaign. Jake didn't want to stop the campaign. According to him, everything was fine. We just needed to get more accustomed to the game and its rules. Poster. Are you sure, Jake? It sounds like you have a specific idea about how you want to run a campaign. Maybe we're just not compatible. Jake, no, I think it's fine. Yeah, don't accept the apology. Poster, we don't like how difficult the encounters are. Could you make them a bit easier? Jake, no. I don't have time for that. Susie is pregnant, and we already have a kid to take care of. Plus, this is how I have fun. If the encounters aren't interesting, it's not fun for me to play. Dave, then it's a mismatch. We should end it here. Jake, no. Once you learn how to play your characters properly, you'll see that the encounters are perfectly doable. Poster, and if we don't learn the way you expect? Connor, maybe we should just play until we have a TPK. Once we die, we can end the campaign. Jake, okay, let me tell you this. If the party is close to a TPK, I'll use a joker to prevent it. Unfortunately, that convinced us to keep playing. Jake also promised us that everyone would get a spotlight in the form of a character arc during the campaign. Mine was supposed to happen right after the events in Watermark, but Jake decided Susie's arc would be played first, for plot reasons and because she was pregnant. As we continued the discussion, we grew curious about Jake's experience as a DM. In 10 years, had he ever managed to finish a campaign? The answer was no. The worst part was he told us some crazy stories. One group ended their campaign when they liberated the Lich and the zombie dragon alongside Jackie. One of the players, fed up with the campaign, jumped into the dragon's mouth to kill his character. Jake got so mad that he ripped the character sheet in front of him. Another group ended after Watermark's arc. They didn't make the right decisions or do what Jake expected, so they ended up fighting an impossible to win encounter. It ended in disaster and they had to flee the city. Another group rage quit because they got punished for killing an NPC who tried to rob them. The NPC's lover ambushed the group and killed the PC responsible for his death. They complained about the unfairness because Jake didn't give them a chance to prevent or anticipate the ambush. Jake, they never asked for a perception check, so it's their fault. We didn't react at the time, but those were definitely red flags. We all agreed to play session 12, and we did. Nothing much happened. We traveled on Jackie's ship toward Watermark. Susie and Jackie made fun of most of our characters in-game alongside Susie's pet, a cat insert which seemed more important to them than our PCs. Also, Susie's character fell in love with Jackie. Anyways, session 13. Susie was 7 months pregnant by this point. She stayed home while everyone else went to Dave and Minerva's house. We offered Jake the option to run the session online so he could stay with Susie, but he refused. So he came to play IRL with us, and we used a mic and camera to play with Susie. We finally arrived at Watermark, but there was an issue. Watermark was under lockdown for political reasons. Our characters had no way to enter. As we tried to find a solution, we ended up in an isolated tavern where the tavern owner offered to produce passes for each of us for 3,000 gold. Obviously, we didn't have that kind of money. Eventually, we met a noble and his bodyguard. The noble was about to enter Watermark and needed protection. Before we could get hired, the tavern was suddenly attacked by a group of assassins who set it on fire by shooting fire arrows. The fight began, and we rolled initiative. We broke out of the tavern and barricaded ourselves with tables, firing back at the attackers with arrows and spells. 2 NPCs tried to help, but one of them was drunk, and the other fumbled his attack and destroyed his crossbow. The noble and his bodyguard, apparently a level 5 fighter, remained hidden inside the tavern. We managed to kill 3 thugs in 2 turns. Connor rushed forward to force the enemies into close combat. Then we realized we were being attacked by an invisible enemy. This enemy seemed incredibly powerful. 1 attack, a second, then a third, all dealing massive damage. He can attack 3 times in a turn? Someone managed to spot him with a perception check. He was one of the BBG's henchmen, a very powerful assassin. The issue? He was a level 14 Battle Master fighter, and we were only level 4. Jake, at this point, you know he's here to assassinate the noble, right? You have to stop him. Dave, yeah, but how? He's way too strong for us. Jake didn't respond. We tried to attack him. All our attacks missed. We attempted to make him do saving throws, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity. All of them failed. Joe managed to hit him with an arrow, but Jake implied the boss was resistant to piercing damage. He had at least 19 AC. And of course, all of their attacks are missing because they can't roll fucking high enough. Obviously. I then used Magic Missile. Since all our other attacks had missed, I dealt a bit of damage, but Jake told us the boss had 120 HP. When his turn came, Jake looked at me with a smile. Jake, poster, you can tell he's really pissed that you managed to hit him. You can feel his gaze on you. He then delivered 3 attacks toward me with his longbow. I dodged them all thanks to my shield spell and being behind cover. Jake, you see him jump out of hiding. He drops his longbow and draws 2 swords. He rushes towards the noble. Connor, how are we supposed to beat him? He's level 14. Jake didn't respond and just stared at us, smiling until it was someone else's turn. The boss was now close to the noble. I tried to restrain him with Maximilian's earthen grasp, but I failed. Jake. Huge mistake. He proceeded to unleash 4 attacks on my character. I was down to 2 HP. When it was the bodyguard's turn, Jake intervened and told Dave, Jake, protect the noble. I'll handle the assassin myself. The powerful bodyguard rushed toward the assassin. Jake looked at me smiling. Poster, cool, I might survive after all. Jake, as he rushes towards the assassin, he grabs your character and throws you into the burning tavern. He's so strong that he sends you flying several meters. You take 3 bludgeoning damage. Poster, what? But why? Jake, because your positioning is terrible. Poster, can't you just push the assassin or something? Jake, no, you were in his way. Poster, I'm down there. I only had 2 HP left. That was the first time I'd been knocked out in the campaign, and by an allied NPC, no less. For the first time in years, I felt an emotion I thought I'd never feel again. Depression. This campaign felt miserable. My character felt miserable, and I felt miserable. I looked at Jake again. This piece of garbage was smiling. You appear to be a jerk because of autism? I thought, no, you are a jerk, regardless of your autism. I rolled my first death save and succeeded. At this point, I wanted my character to die so I could leave the campaign for good. However, Dave and Minerva decided to take huge risks to save me with the healing potion, but by doing so, they left Susie and the noble vulnerable. Susie, why am I alone against the boss? Dave, what are you doing? Dave, well, I'm saving the poster. And that's when Jake completely lost it. Jake, Dave, you screwed up again. The bodyguard told you to protect the noble. Dave lost it as well. Dave, I wanted to save the poster. Jake, if the nobles died, the campaign is screwed. Do you realize that? You were given clear instructions. Why didn't you follow them? Dave, we haven't been hired by him yet, so I prioritized my teammates. The game resumed. We eventually surrounded the boss, but almost all of our attacks failed. The bodyguard even fumbled his attack and dropped his sword. Jake, well, I guess I have no choice but to use a joker. I can't believe you guys forced me to do this. Dave's patron, the soul of the Holy Emperor, took control of his body. He gained the original poster's stats and 50 temporary hit points. Dave, well, I guess Jake, no! Now your character is under my control. Roll an attack with advantage. Dave, okay, that's a 3. It misses once again. Jake, that's fine. Roll again. You have advantage. Dave, honestly, this is so unfair. Almost all of our attacks have failed. Jake, roll the dice! Dave rolled a 19, which was a crit since he had activated the Hexblade's curse. The boss drank a potion and vanished into thin air. The fight was over. Jake and Dave were furious. Minerva was about to cry. I was utterly disappointed, and Connor was confused. Only Joe seemed to be having fun for some reason. We decided to end the session. Jake, this is such a mess. I'm pissed off that I'm not with my wife right now. We talked about the encounter. Dave and Jake blamed each other. When it became clear the conversation was going nowhere, we all eventually left the house. Jake told us that the next fight would be even tougher and that he had no intention of lowering the difficulty. At that point, I decided to leave. But I wouldn't leave alone. The next part will be the last one. This is the final part of the story. The final part. June 2024. I asked the opinions of many people on the internet, DMs on Discord groups, on Reddit. I even tried to learn about DMing on YouTube. This is when I learned a lot of things such as CR, challenge rating, player agency, railroading, and so on. I realized Jake had everything wrong and failed to properly introduce us to D&D. He never cared about us learning at our own pace. He only cared about himself. This so-called veteran DM is a massive fraud. I called him and tried to hold him accountable for knocking me down with an ally NPC. He made me think about the whole fight again. Basically, his point was Dave didn't play like he was supposed to with his Hexblade character, so that it was his fault. It is true that Dave is extremely afraid of losing his PC. He only has 13 AC, that's why he refuses to take any risks. So he fights most of the time with his Eldritch Blast instead of using his two-handed sword. This puts the entire group under pressure because he doesn't use his character to its full extent. However, I know what Jake did. He deflected any criticism I had towards Dave, but this time I refused to let him manipulate me. So I pressed him once again and tried to make him respond for what he did to me. Dave could be the worst player in the world, but that still doesn't explain why he arbitrarily knocked me out with an ally NPC. Jake, actually, I've been a bit absent-minded lately. Susie and I are constantly busy because the baby is arriving in a few weeks. You'll understand when you become a father. I genuinely started to hate Jake and his behavior. He will never acknowledge any kind of responsibility, but I remained calm and didn't show that I was pissed. Moving forward, I sent him a text message telling him straight up that I asked the opinions of many DMs on Discord, Reddit, and even acquaintances who play Pathfinder 2.0, and so on. All of them gave negative feedback. They told me the challenge rating in the last encounter was far too unbalanced, especially if the players had never experienced such difficulty before. His response? Allow me to translate. Jake. Yes, absolutely, I know the CR very well, but the goal wasn't to kill the NPC. This NPC wasn't there to die. I didn't use all of their abilities. The goal for me is to control an NPC who is a bit of a jack of all trades so I can respond to what you're doing. Other DMs may not know this, but there's a big difference between CR and character level. I think the DMs you asked aren't very experienced. Don't pay attention to the CR, assume that I know your characters. Therefore, facing this assassin who doesn't use all of his abilities was possible. This goal was to make him flee. No, Jake, you fraud. I thought we didn't know this NPC was supposed to flee when we played. He didn't use all of his abilities, yet he made 4 attacks against me in one turn and even used a trip attack? We tried to knock him prone, restrain him. Connor tried to duel with him with his compelled duel. I tried to lower his defense with Mind Sliver. Absolutely no saving throw worked. The goal of a DM is to ensure that players feel challenged but also capable of success, and you failed to do so. Again, he dismissed my feedback and even had the nerve to call the other DMs I talked to inexperienced. This is crazy. At this point, I was done. This guy will never change. However, I didn't want the group to explode or remain hostage to Jake and Susie once I left. The best outcome would be to get rid of those two and make one of us the new DM. Session 14 will happen in July, so we will have almost 1 month of break. So I've decided to run sessions with the other players in order to learn how to play as a team and help those who were still struggling with the rules and mechanics. I did not hide anything from Jake. I plan to make these sessions on Foundry, but since I don't own it, Jake offered to let me do this on his. But first, he had to teach me how to use Foundry. Jake, I will call you tomorrow so we can decide together when to do this. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and 4 days later, I was still waiting for him to call me. I could have called him, but I didn't want him to lecture me again with his adult life and parenting that you'll understand once you have a kid bullshit. So I took matters into my own hands. I bought Foundry myself and learned how to use it on my own. The issue was the D&D module is empty unless I was willing to spend even more money to get all the content available for D&D 5th. So we used character sheets, then we played on it. I invited everyone, but not Susie. I eventually managed to convince Dave to be less afraid of going into melee with his hexblade. Joe really struggled with the rules, and I suspect he has either undiagnosed dyslexia or ADHD. So we created cheat sheets with Joe, using flashcards to help him. Overall, the team became a lot stronger, and everyone knows how to use flanking, how to kill a strong boss quickly, and so on. July 2024. Before we meet up, we asked Jake once more to stay with Susie, and we don't mind playing online at all, but he refuses again. And then he sends us this voice message. Jake, concerning Susie, it's not a joke. poor thing. It's a struggle to wash and get up. It's very complicated. I feel like I'm constantly repeating this sentence. No, I don't know when the baby is coming. Yes, I stay close to my wife because potentially she can give birth. I don't know when, but she can. I replied with a text. Poster. Hi, based on your message, Jake, I think it's better to do it remotely in any case. That way, we don't worry and you stay with Susie. Susie, it's okay. I'm sending him to you so I can breathe a little. Poster, I would like to insist that we do it remotely because it clearly affects Jake negatively. Moreover, he said it several times himself at the end of the previous session. I quote, "It pisses me off not to be with my pregnant wife." Jake, clearly, yes, but for the moment, it's okay, and then it makes her feel good not to see my face for a day or 2 or 10. Dave, I agree with you, Poster. Minerva and I were thinking the same thing, and this is not to criticize you, Jake, but to clarify. I received a private voice message from Jake. Jake, you were right about what you said. I'm coming because this is potentially the last session, so I need to take my stuff back if the campaign ends. I'm tired of Dave's criticism towards me. I'm tired of him pushing the group down. So if what happened last time happens again, I'll put an end to this. We eventually agreed to let Jake come to play with us, leaving Susie behind. I could have left right there, but I wanted to see the results of our training sessions before I left. Session 14 begins. The noble who plans to run for president of Watermark hires us for 2,500 gold. Our job is to protect him for 3 days, since he has a lot of enemies. I thought we deserved more, especially when Watermark's future was at stake, and also because Susie will need 1,000 gold when her arc begins. Jake, your character knows this noble is a good person, and since he is neutral good, he shouldn't ask for more money. Poster, but I remember you told me alignment doesn't matter. Jake, it doesn't matter. It does matter in this case. Never forget that your character is neutral good. He can recognize this noble has good intentions, so he will gladly help him. Poster, well, to be honest, I highly doubt my character is still neutral good at this point, especially after he was forced to trade a city and its citizens, a lich, and a dragon zombie for a pirate ship. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. We escorted the noble to his manor house, then we searched for allies in Watermark. That's when we found a very powerful NPC, a Leonin barbarian. He hires us to deal with some drug trafficking in the city-state. That's right, it was the same mission we did in the one-shot we played 7 months ago, the warehouse. The session ends just before we start the fight. Drake noticed that Joe was much more comfortable and much faster with the game mechanics and dice rolls than usual. Joe, well, it's thanks to the poster. We made cheat sheets together. Jake? Yeah, but we spent hours too when I tried to help you, remember? Joe, yeah, but we found a solution with the poster. I was observing Jake and his reaction. I waited for him to at least thank me or address the fact that I did a better job than him at helping Joe. Of course, he didn't. At this point, I knew who I was dealing with. Before session 15 started, I called the other players except Susie. I told them that I was going to leave regardless of what happens during this session. I could have incited them to leave with me, but I didn't. I knew it was only a matter of time before this campaign falls apart. Session 15 begins. This time, we all played remotely on Foundry. The Leonin barbarian was nearby, observing and analyzing our group to see if we were capable enough and how we dealt with the encounter. It had been clearly stated by Jake that he was not supposed to help us. We used almost the same strategy. Susie and Joe were positioned on the roof of the warehouse. This time, we broke the lock on the back door of the warehouse and attacked from the front. I think this encounter was identical to the one we did back then, 7 months ago, in the one-shot session, probably a bit harder. We had to fight a whole group of enemies. There were at least 16 of them, spies, thugs, bandit captains, swashbucklers, and so on. There was the same boss as before, a very strong fighter or barbarian who could reflect any damage done to him. One thing I was certain of, this fight was way harder than the one we had against the assassin, and guess what? We fought exceptionally well. With teamwork and flanking, we defeated one enemy after another. We even managed to make the boss drop his weapons, thanks to Connor's command spell, and because we put him at a disadvantage with his wisdom saving throw due to Dave's hex spell, homebrewed by Jake. We were all happy, but only Jake seemed bothered. Jake, I'm checking if Connor's spell works on this boss. Connor, he failed his wisdom saving throws, so I assume it does? Jake, yeah, but this boss is under a charm spell, so it might not work. I knew what he was doing. I wasn't going to let him. Poster, maybe we can find the answer in the spell itself. What does it say? Jake ignored me. Jake, it doesn't work on him. The boss is under a charm. Poster, no, Jake, I'm sorry, but no. The spell has no effect if the target is undead. If it doesn't understand your language or if your command is directly harmful to it. That's what the rules say. It doesn't say anything about the target being charmed, so it works. Susie, that's a beautiful combo. You should allow it. Jake, okay. The boss will drop his weapon and skip his turn when his next turn comes. Then came Susie's turn, and she managed to restrain the boss with a net arrow. The boss was now prone and restrained, and he would drop his weapon on his next turn. At this point, the fight was won. This would be our first victory since the campaign began. Jake was silent for a moment. Then he said, Jake, you see, the boss is transforming. The black aura surrounding him is taking over. The boss token suddenly became some huge archangel. Everyone, what? Yeah. The boss transformed into an archangel. I don't know if it was a solar or a planetar. Probably a homebrew version of the planetar. But what the fuck? This makes no sense. We discovered that the warehouse was connected to the BBG, but still. Dave, are we fighting a planetar or something? How are we supposed to fight? That's. Mind you, you're still level 4. Poster, what happened? What did he transform in? Why did he transform into that? Jake, this is a transformation that only happens when the boss is restrained and drops his weapon. I swear to God, that's the explanation he gave us? I still can't believe how crazy it sounds. Does he really think we can't see he pulled that out of his ass? Poster, oh really? Jake, yeah, no one else ever managed to make him transform. You're the first. Is this guy serious? Poster, okay, what do you expect us to do? Obviously, there's nothing we can do against a planetar. Jake didn't respond. Everyone was confused. Even Susie had no idea what Jake expected of us. Poster, no, seriously, Jake, what do you expect us to do? Jake, don't worry. Then came Connor's turn. Connor, I asked my magical armor for advice. What does it think? Jake, the armor responds that you will die if you fight this planetar. Susie, I guess it's time to flee. And Connor, okay, Then Jake made the magical armor take control of Connor's character. He transformed, got better stats, but he could do nothing but attack. The same thing happened with Dave. The Holy Emperor took control of Dave's character once more. He could do nothing but roll his dice for attacks, but Dave was not pleased at all. Dave, I've already said I don't want to be controlled. Can I make a check to regain control of my character? Jake, fine. Make a charisma saving throw. The DC is 25. Dave rolled an 18. Thanks to his charisma bonus and proficiency, he hits 25. Dave, okay, now we help Connor regain control and we leave this place. Jake, you fucked up again. You guys were supposed to kill this boss. Dave, but you said earlier with the magical armor that we would die if we fight him. Jake, just because one NPC says something doesn't mean it's true. You need to be able to think for yourself. Silence. Dave, I'll make some tea. I'll be back. There was so much anger in Dave's voice, I could feel it in my spine. Was I angry? No. Since I already decided to leave, this just solidified my choice. However, I was bitter that all those training sessions were ruined by Jake's DM versus player mentality. Jake is a shitty DM, and that's all. We could even hit the planetar because he had a 21 AC. Eventually, when it became clear we were going to die, Jake made the planetar explode. That's how our last fight ended. We went from being engaged and excited to bitter and frustrated when the planetar came along. What the hell was Jake thinking? We started arguing about what happened. Once again, Jake refused any accountability for the way he handled this encounter. He blamed us for not understanding. He blamed us for calling Leonin Barbarian NPC for help, even though he told us not to expect any help from him before the fight begins. He blamed us for not having basic logic. Poster, even Susie didn't understand what you expected of us. Are you saying she lacks basic logic as well? Jake, well, no, that's because she failed a perception check, otherwise she would have known what to do. Poster, yeah, sure. I pressed Jake on his decision to transform the boss. Poster, why did you do that? You've complained for a year that we didn't fight well enough, and now that we do, you punish us for it. Jake, no, that's because you accumulated too much control over him. Poster, so we have to fight effectively, but not too much? Jake, more or less, yes. And thus, I announced to the group that I was leaving the campaign. Did I confront Jake or tell him everything I thought of him? No, I didn't. I regret not yelling at him or insulting him on one hand, but on the other hand, I know it's pointless, so I just left. The other players didn't say anything since they knew I was going to leave. However, I didn't expect a domino effect to happen. Connor texted me the next day saying he was planning to leave as well. 3 days later, Dave called everyone and announced he was leaving. Jake then put a definitive end to the campaign. And now this is how this miserable campaign finally ended. Strangely enough, nobody left the group chat because everybody expected Susie to keep us in touch with the birth of their child. Epilogue. August 2024. 2 weeks later, Susie gave birth to their daughter. I also announced that I would try to run a campaign as a DM. I invited Joe, Connor, Dave, and Minerva to play. We would eventually create a new group without Jake and Susie. September 2024. I messaged Jake. Poster. Hi Jake, I'm writing to let you and Susie know that we will no longer be using our shared group. We decided to create a new D&D group and start from scratch. As for me, I want to turn the page on this campaign. In any case, I hope all is well on your side. Jake, hi, okay, I cut off all your Foundry access and I'll leave the groups that connect us on my side. I'll contact Minerva and collect my belongings. I already knew he would react like that, and I don't mind. I just needed to cut ties officially with this guy. I'm glad this is finally over. Our session 0, another thing Jake didn't do, happens tomorrow. And I want our experience to be anything but that. I hope we will have fun and make a cool and interesting collaborative story together. Making those posts definitely helped me to move on from that terrible experience. But the most important thing is that it allows me to remember everything that I absolutely must not do during my campaign. Thanks for reading. End of the story. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the D&D horror story. What do you guys think? It was a happy ending, all in all. They all moved on. They all got free. They all ended up starting their own campaign and session. But the fact that, like, they spent a year of their lives together and the dude didn't announce the birth of their baby? Like, fuck you, Jake. Fuck you, Jake. This is for you, Jake. Fuck you.
That is it from me for today, everyone. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. I am looking forward to doing more of these reading segments and sharing them with you. Please, if you have something that you would like me to read, see the description down below to join the Discord server. I'm working on a business email as well, but so the easiest place is to join the Discord server. I'll have the link in the description. Thank you once again, and looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye.